I never thought family could gut you like a fish on the back porch, but there I was, 28 years old, staring down the barrel of my cousin Marcus's lies in Grandma's stuffy parlor, the air thick with the scent of mothballs and fresh betrayal. He'd stood up right there, in front of the lawyer and Aunt Rita, pointing a manicured finger at me like I was some two-bit hustler from the trap house down on Auburn Avenue, accusing me of swiping Grandma's diamond brooch, the one she'd worn to every church picnic since Eisenhower was president. Aaliyah's the one who cleaned her out, he'd spat, his voice dripping with that fake southern drawl he put on for white folks at his corporate gigs. I saw her snooping last week. Thief in the family, y'all. The room went dead silent, save for Aunt Rita's gasp that sounded like a punctured tire. I'd spent the last decade carrying Marcus's sins on my back like a rucksack full of bricks, covering for his coke-fueled joyrides in college, lying to the cops when he wrapped Daddy's old Cadillac around a pole on I-85, even forging that signature on the loan docs so he could flip his first house and play the big-shot realtor. Grandma knew. She'd pulled me aside one humid afternoon in her kitchen, her gnarled hands kneading biscuit dough, whispering, "Baby girl, blood don't always run thicker than mud. But secrets? They fester like kudzu if you let 'em." I'd nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat, and kept my mouth shut. For family. For the fragile peace in our cracked Atlanta clan, where every reunion tasted like sweet tea laced with arsenic. But that brooch? It wasn't just heirloom sparkle. It was Grandma's anchor, the one piece of Mama she had left after the cancer ate her hollow in '09. Marcus knew that. Hell, he'd begged me to pawn it once, back when his bookie was breathing down his neck after a bad Falcons bet. I'd said no, hidden it deeper in her jewelry box, and taken the heat for his gambling tabs instead, funneling cash for my nursing shifts at Grady Memorial to keep the wolves at bay. And now, here he was, twisting the knife because the will had cut him out cold. Grandma's estate, that sagging queen and on Peachtree Street, the nest egg from her nursing days, the brooch, it all flowed to me. For the one who held the line. Her letter read, tucked in the envelope like a love note from the grave. The lawyer, Mr. Hargrove with his bow tie and bourbon breath, cleared his throat and slid the papers across the table. "Miss Jackson, perhaps we should review the inventory." Marcus smirked, leaning back in Grandma's creaky rocker like he owned the damn place. Aunt Rita shot me a look, half pity, half poison, muttering about ungrateful nieces under her breath. I felt the heat crawl up my neck, that old familiar burn of being the scapegoat, the strong black woman who never cracked, even when the world was busy kicking her teeth in. But this time something snapped. Not loud, not dramatic like in those Tyler Perry flicks Aunt Rita devoured on Lifetime. Quiet, like the click of a safety on a Glock I'd never fired but knew how to load. That night, alone in my one-bedroom off MLK Drive, I cracked open Grandma's old Hope chest, the one she'd dragged from Mississippi in '68, etched with migration scars and the faint smell of lye soap. Buried under yellowed photo albums and faded Polaroids of us kids chasing fireflies in Grant Park, there it was, a dusty USB drive, unlabeled, tucked into a secret pocket like contraband. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop, the screen flickering to life with grainy time-stamped footage from a hidden camera Grandma must have rigged in her parlor. Motion activated, the lawyer had mentioned offhand during the reading, for security purposes. But this was dynamite. The first clip, Marcus, 3 weeks back, slipping into the room at dusk, his tie loosened like he'd come straight from a client lunch at the Capitol Grill. He rummaged through the sideboard, pockets bulging with silverware, then the jewelry box, fingers closing around the brooch like a hawk on a field mouse. He pocketed it, glanced around with that weasel-quick swivel, and was gone. Timestamp, 7:42 p.m., the day before Grandma's stroke. My stomach twisted. He'd stolen it to fence for quick cash, probably to cover the down payment on that over-leveraged condo in Midtown he was flipping. But the next clip? That one hit like a freight train out of Union Station. It was me, 2 months earlier, in the dead of night, creeping into the parlor myself. Hoodie up, flashlight beam dancing like a guilty ghost. I was there to plant the forged docs, the ones absolving Marcus of that embezzlement scam from his realty firm. He'd sworn it was a one-time thing, a creative accounting to keep the lights on after the divorce drained him dry. "You're the only one I trust, Laya," he'd wheedled over burner phones, his voice cracking like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. I'd believed him. Or wanted to. So I'd done it, heart hammering, whispering prayers to Jesus and the ancestors not to let the devil claim another Jackson soul. The camera caught it all. My face in profile, the sweat beading on my forehead, the way I hesitated before sliding the papers into the safe. Betrayal, captured in 4K Betrayal. I slammed the laptop shut, the room spinning like I'd chugged a fifth of Hennessy. Grandma had seen everything. The saintly matriarch who'd baked peach cobbler for block parties and volunteered at the soup kitchen on Ash Wednesday. She played us both, wiring that camera like some low-budget Columbo, waiting for the masks to slip. Her will wasn't mercy. It was judgment. She'd left me the house, the money, the brooch, wherever the hell it was now, because I'd been the fool loyal enough to bleed for the family, even when it carved me hollow. Marcus? He'd get the scraps, a pittance to remind him that greed was a dead-end street in the New South. But forgiveness? That train had left the station at 5 points. No, this was the South. Old grudges simmered like gumbo left too long on the stove, thickening into something dark and unbreakable. Marcus had called me thief in front of God and the Georgia probate court, painting me as the villain in our family's tragicomedy. He'd flipped the script one too many times, from the golden boy to the snake in the garden, and now it was my turn to rewrite the ending. I poured myself a tumbler of bourbon, Grandma's wild turkey, the good stuff, and scrolled through my contacts. There was Jamal, my ex from the force, now private security with access to all the dirt on Atlanta's underbelly. And then Tanya, the PI who'd tailed Marcus's side chick last summer. Tools for a reckoning. By dawn, the plan crystallized, sharp as a switchblade in a back pocket. I'd start small, leak the footage to Aunt Rita, let the family whispers turn to roars. Then hit his wallet, tip off the IRS about those offshore accounts he'd bragged about at Thanksgiving, the ones hiding his skim from the firm. But the real gut punch? Expose the skeleton he'd buried deepest, the hidden run from 15, the one he'd pinned on a drunk tourist, paying me hush money in installments that kept my student loans at bay. I'd taken the fall then, too, testified it was a ghost driver, my nurse's scrub still smelling of ER bleach when I perjured myself for him. For family. As the sun cracked over the skyline, painting the skyline in bruised purples and golds, I felt the weight lift, just a fraction. Revenge wasn't pretty. It was a Southern Gothic opera, all magnolias and malice. And I was the diva, center stage, ready to belt out the aria that would shatter the footlights. Marcus thought he knew betrayal? Honey, he ain't seen nothing yet. The days blurred into a haze of double shifts at the hospital and late-night stakeouts for my Civic, parked curbside across from Marcus's sleek Buckhead condo. He was living large, oblivious. LinkedIn posts about closing deals that build legacies, selfies with craft IPAs at the Beltline food trucks, arm around that new fiancé, some yoga instructor named Brooke with a trust fund glow. I watched him through binoculars, the kind Jamal hooked me up with from his precinct surplus, noting the comings and goings, the Bentley lease he couldn't afford, the late-night visitors who looked too jittery for book club. First move, the family bomb. I emailed Aunt Rita the USB clip, Marcus's heist in high def with a note. Truth hurts more than lies, Auntie. But lies? They kill slow. Her reply came at 3 a.m. Lord have mercy, child.
Come over tomorrow.
We need to talk. By noon, the group chat exploded, cousins firing off eggplant emojis and Bible verses, Aunt Rita dialing Marcus on speaker like a Maury episode. Boy, you got 5 minutes to explain this before I call Reverend Hayes, and we pray you into the ground. His excuses tumbled out, oily as Crisco. Deep fake ma. Some hacker out for blood. But the timestamps didn't lie, and neither did Grandma's ghost in the machine. Marcus called me that evening, voice velvet-wrapped razor wire. Laya, sis, we family. Whatever you think you saw, let's hash it. Dinner at Manuel's? My treat. I laughed, a bark that echoed off my empty walls. Family? You burned that bridge when you stood in that parlor and fed me to the sharks. Enjoy the view from the ashes.
Click.
Cathartic, but not enough. The real play was financial evisceration. Tanya's report landed in my inbox 2 days later. Spreadsheets of Marcus's shell companies, funneled through a Cayman cutout, laundering kickbacks from shady flips in Vine City. One email chain even mentioned the nurse, me, as his silent partner in the dockside forged. Son of a bitch had leveraged my loyalty into his ledger. I forwarded it all to the tip line anonymous, of course, routed through a VPN Jamal swore by. By week's end, Marcus's firm put him on leave, pending investigation. His LinkedIn went dark. Brooke's story shifted from champagne brunches to solo hikes in Piedmont Park. Schadenfreude tasted like fried green tomatoes with a side of spite. Tart, satisfying, gone too quick. But revenge is a marathon in the humid heart of Dixie, not a sprint. The big reveal loomed, that hit and run. The one that left an undocumented worker from the perimeter construction site paralyzed, his family deported before the settlement cleared. Marcus had walked because I lied, my voice steady on the stand. It was dark, Your Honor. Looked like a silver sedan, not his black Escalade. Digging it up meant dredging my own grave. The court transcripts were sealed, but Tanya had a contact in Fulton County records, a clerk with a gambling debt and a grudge against slick realtors. The file arrived encrypted, witness statements Marcus had buried, tire treads matching his rims, even a dashcam still from a rideshare that caught the Escalade's plates in the blur. And there, buried in the addendum, my affidavit, signed in blue ink, perjuring my soul for his. Reading it, I tasted bile. I'd been 23, fresh out of nursing school, bearing Mama's medical bills while Marcus partied through his MBA. He'd promised to pay me back tenfold. Instead, he dangled scraps and strings. The confrontation brewed, like a storm off Lake Lanier. I tailed him to a dive bar in East Atlanta, the kind with PBR on tap and Nirvana covers from a three-piece band that sounded like they learned guitar in juvie. He was there alone, nursing a whiskey neat, Thai askew, looking every bit the fallen peacock. I slid onto the stool beside him, ordering a Jack and Coke, strong, no ice. Fancy meeting you here, cuz, I drawled, my nurse's scrubs swapped for jeans and a hoodie that hid the recorder in my bra. He startled, then recovered with that salesman grin.
Laya.
Peace offering. He slid a business card across the scarred bar top, some life coaching gig, Marcus Jackson. Reinventing tomorrow. Peace? After you tried to rob me of everything Grandma built. I hit play on my phone, low volume. The footage, his filched brooch glinting under the parlor lamp. His face drained of color, then flushed crimson. That old bat set me up. She always played favorites, you, the perfect little martyr. His words slurred, the whiskey talking, but the venom was all him. I leaned in, voice a whisper over the twang of, where did you sleep last night? Martyr? I covered your ass from day one. The car crash. The loans. That poor man's legs, Marcus. You owe restitution.
To him. To me.
He laughed, bitter as black coffee. Restitution? From what? My tears. Life's a hustle, Laya. You want to play White Knight, go fundraise for BLM. But don't come at me with your holier-than-thou. The bar noise swelled, a couple arguing in the corner over child support, the bartender eyeing us like potential trouble. I felt the pull, the old urge to back down, smooth it over with a hug and a bless your heart. But Grandma's eyes stared back from the footage thumbnail, unblinking. 1 week. Wire the family $50K, the brooch value, plus interest. And that settlement fund for the victim's kin? Anonymous, through me. Or the DA gets the full montage. He slammed his glass down, amber sloshing like blood in water. Blackmail? That's your revenge? You're no better than me. Maybe. But as I walked out into the neon-drenched night, the city's pulse thrumming under my boots, freight trains moaning in the distance, distant sirens wailing like lost souls, I knew the truth. No one was clean in this opera. Least of all me. The week crawled by like a hungover possum, Atlanta's December chill seeping through the cracks in my apartment walls, turning every breath into a visible promise of winter's bite. Marcus didn't wire the money. Instead, he went radio silent, no calls, no texts, just a flurry of activity on his socials that screamed desperation. Sold the Bentley on Facebook Marketplace for peanuts, posted a grateful for new beginnings reel from a Fleabag motel off Jimmy Carter Boulevard. Aunt Rita kept blowing up my phone. He swears it's a setup, baby. Says you're jealous, trying to tank his future. Jealous? Of a man who'd trade his soul for a square foot of granite countertops. I'd sooner envy a roach in the roach coach. But doubt wormed in, insidious as termites in Grandma's porch. Late nights, I'd replay the footage, pausing on my own midnight raid. The way my eyes darted like a cornered animal, the forged papers crinkling under my guilty fingers. What if Marcus spun it right? Painted me as the mastermind, puppeteering his mistakes for a cut of the pie? The family was already fracturing. Uncle Ray, the quiet welder who'd always slip me 20s at Easter, texted, heard both sides lie.
Messy.
Stay strong. Both sides. Like this was a custody battle over holiday ham, not a lifetime of lopsided scales. Jamal sensed the wobble when we met for coffee at Octane, the spot near his precinct where baristas frothed lattes like alchemists, turning lead to gold. He was all broad shoulders and buzz-cut, that easy cop swagger tempered by the divorce papers still fresh in his glove box. You look like you ain't slept since the reading, he said, sliding me a black drip. No sugar, knew me better than most. I spilled it, the plan, the standoff, the nagging what-ifs. He listened, stirring his pour-over slow, like he was sifting evidence. Revenge is a circle, Aaliyah. You spin it, it spins back. But Marcus? He's a user. Always was. Remember that block party in 12? He ghosted with the grill money, left us eating hot dogs from the corner store. I nodded, the memory stinging. Fireworks popping over the park, kids waving sparklers like wands, while we'd scraped by on Vienna sausages and spite. Jamal's hand brushed mine, a spark in the caffeine haze. If you're in, I'm in. Got a buddy in white collar, can nudge the IRS probe, without fingerprints. His eyes held that old fire, the one that burned out when my shifts swallowed our dates and his overtime ate our weekends. Maybe this was our encore, a duet in minor key. Or maybe I was just lonely, grasping at shadows. By Friday, the pressure cooker whistled. Tanya pinged me. Marcus had lawyered up, some ambulance chaser from Decatur with a rep for plea deals dirtier than the Chattahoochee after a storm. And he'd filed a counterclaim, accusing me of elder abuse, claiming I'd manipulated Grandma into rewriting the will during her decline. Bullshit, pure as moonshine from a backwoods still. But it stuck, whispers turning to posts in the family Facebook group. Prayers for justice. Family first. Aunt Rita unfriended me. Her profile pic, a sepia-toned shot of her and Grandma at the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park, staring accusation from the ether. I drove to the motel that night, the kind of place where neon signs buzzed vacancy, like a siren's call to the down and out. Room 14, second floor, curtains drawn against the sodium glow of the parking lot. I knocked, 3 sharp raps, heart jackhammering against my ribs. Marcus answered shirtless, sweatpants slung low, a half-empty bottle of Tito's on the nightstand beside a laptop glowing with Zillow listings. His eyes were bloodshot, the golden boy reduced to a husk. You got balls, showing up, he slurred, but stepped aside, gesturing to the lumpy queen bed like it was a throne. We faced off across the threadbare carpet, the AC humming a dirge. Countersuit? Elder abuse? That's your play. I tossed the printouts, Tanya's docs, the hit-and-run file, onto the bed like grenades. He scanned them, face twisting from shock to snarl. You think this ends me? I got dirt too, Laya. That nursing license? One call to the board about those forged scripts you wrote for my buddies. Oxy for the pain, right? Oxy. The pills. Last year, when his construction crew went on strike, he'd leaned on me for stress relief. I'd palmed a few samples from the hospital pharmacy, technically not forging, but close enough to torch my career. Leverage his specialty. The room shrank, walls closing like a vice. "We're poison, you and me," I said, voice cracking for the first time. Grandma saw it. "That's why the camera. Why the will?" He laughed, a hollow echo. "Poison? Nah, we're survivors. Atlanta eats the weak, redlining, gentrification. All that systemic shit. We hustle or we starve." He poured shots, the vodka glugging like a confession. I took one, the burn steadying me. Survivors don't leave bodies in the rear view. That man on the perimeter? His wife's still cleaning hotel rooms in Duluth, kids split between states. You owe them. He slumped onto the bed, head in hands. I panicked. Dude jumped out like a damn deer. I had Brooke on the way, the firm breathing down. It was split second. Tears? Or crocodile variety? Hard to tell in the motel gloom. For a heartbeat, I saw the boy he'd been. 10 years old, us building forts from cardboard in Grandma's attic, dreaming of escaping the projects for mansions on West Paces Ferry. Then he looked up, eyes hardening.
Fine.
The $50K. And the fund, 20 grand, wired tomorrow. But drop the suit. And delete the footage. Or I burn us both. Relief flooded, tainted as sweet tea with too much sugar. We shook on it, palms clammy, promises fragile as rice paper. As I left, the door clicking shut behind me, the lot's floodlights cast my shadow long and warped. Jamal was waiting in his unmarked cruiser, engine idling. "Done?" he asked, pulling me into a hug that smelled of gun oil and Old Spice. "For now." But in the rear view, as we peeled out, I spotted movement in the curtains. Marcus, phone to ear, silhouette frantic. Calling his lawyer? Or something worse. The wire hit my account Monday morning, a sterile chime on my banking app, $70,000 even. Memo line blank as his conscience. I transferred the victim's fund through a GoFundMe shell Tanya set up. Atlanta Road Warriors Relief. Anonymous donor from a friend of the family. The wife's thank you post went viral in the immigrant Facebook groups. Photos of her kids in new sneakers, a halting English caption about angels in the City of Oaks. It should have felt like vindication, a full circle, not tied neat. But Marcus's countersuit loomed, discovery phase kicking off with depositions that could drag my perjury into the light. And Brooke? She'd bailed, her Instagram scrubbed of him, but not before subtweeting about toxic exes who lie for sport. Family fallout escalated midweek. Uncle Ray showed at my door unannounced, 6-pack of sweet water in hand, his welder's hands scarred like road maps. We sat on the stoop, the neighborhood alive with kids on bikes and distant trap beats from a lowrider cruising slow. "Rita's talking exorcism," he chuckled, cracking a 420 extra pail. "Says y'all got demons from the old country." I snorted, but it hurt. He started it, Uncle. Accused me to steal the inheritance. Ray nodded, gaze distant on the traffic snarl at the light. "And you finished it. Question is, does finishing make you whole? Or just emptier?" His words lodged like buckshot. That night, alone with takeout from Mary Mac's, chicken and dumplings that tasted like childhood, I cracked the brooch hunt wide open. Marcus had fenced it, Tanya confirmed, a pawn shop in Little 5 Points, alias MJ Enterprises. I drove there at dusk, the shop's bell tinkling like a warning as I stepped into the clutter of tarnished dreams, gold chains coiled like snakes, guitars gathering dust. The pawnbroker, a grizzled Korean vet with tattoos fading into liver spots, recognized the description. Sold last month. To a collector up in Alpharetta. Cash, no questions. Alpharetta. White flight suburbs, where Marcus's clients picnicked on lawns wider than our whole block. I paid the finder's fee in 20s, the drive north a blur of strip malls and soccer moms in crossovers. The collector's estate was gated, all brick McMansions and HOA covenants that screamed, "Keep out." I parked a block over, scaled the fence in the moonless dark, nurse's adrenaline pumping like it was a code blue. The brooch winked from a velvet case in his study, lit by a desk lamp like a beacon. Snatched it, pulse thundering, and ghosted back to the Civic before the motion lights tripped. Holding it under my dashboard glow, diamonds catching fireflies in the glass, I wept. For Grandma. For the girl I'd been, trading integrity for scraps of approval. Marcus's truce felt like quicksand now, sucking me deeper. And when my phone buzzed unknown number, a voicemail in his timbre. You got your pound of flesh, Laya. But touch my life again, and I'll drag you down with me. Family sticks together. Or bleeds out. I knew the opera wasn't over. Intermission, maybe. But the fat lady? She was just warming up her pipes. Christmas Eve in Atlanta hits different. Strings of LED lights draped over Ponce City Market like electric tinsel, carolers bundled against the 40-degree snap belting, silent night. Off-key, the air crisp with chimney smoke and the faint pine of food truck gyros. I spent it solo, brooch pinned to my sweater like a talisman, nursing eggnog spiked with rum at a dive on Moreland Avenue. Jamal texted well wishes, a selfie from his mom's indicator. Turkey carcass and collards, his niece mugging for the camera. Miss this, he added. Me too. But trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, not with Marcus's threat echoing like a bad jingle. New Year's dawned hungover and hazy, resolutions scribbled on napkins then forgotten in the bin. The countersuit discovery hit hard, subpoenas for my hospital records, emails from my shift leads about discrepancies in the med logs, the oxy scripts, flagged but never pursued because I'd played the grief card after Mama. Marcus's lawyer was gunning for blood, deposing Aunt Rita first. Her testimony, tear-streaked on Zoom, painted me as ambitious. Maybe too much so. Always whispering with Mama in the kitchen. Ambitious. Code for uppity. The word unsaid but heavy as humidity. I lawyered up too, pro bono through a legal aid sisterhood, a firebrand named Kendra with locks and a no-bullshit stare. We met in her office off 5 Point Station, walls papered in case wins and photos of her kicking ass at the Dream Hackathon. He's flipping the victim card, she said, flipping through the file like a dealer at the World Series of Poker. Classic abuser tactic. But we've got the footage, the wires. Counter with defamation. His accusation at the reading?
Slander per se.
Defamation. The word rolled off her tongue like justice served sweet. But as she outlined the countersuit, my gut nodded. Exposing the hidden run in court meant opening Pandora's probate box. My perjury, his theft, Grandma's manipulations laid bare for tabloid fodder. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution would feast. Heirs at war. Theft, lies, and a family's dark secret. The moral mire deepened when the victim's wife reached out. Maria, her English halting over the line, thanking me for the fund. My husband, he walk a little now. Therapy. You angel? Angel. If only. I hung up, staring at the brooch on my dresser, its facets mocking my fractured halo. Marcus called that afternoon, voice stripped bare. Laya, truce for real this time. Meet at Grandma's? Neutral ground. Bring the brooch. I'll sign over my share quiet. Neutral ground. The house, empty now. Echoes of her footsteps, still haunting the halls. I agreed, Kendra's warning ringing. Record it. And don't go alone. Jamal tailed me in his truck, parked discreet on the street as I pulled up to the Queen and its gingerbread trim dusted in pollen yellow light from the street lamp. The key turned smooth under my fingers, Grandma's spare, hidden in the azaleas like always. Inside, the parlor smelled of dust and disuse, the rocker idle where Marcus had lounged that fateful day. He waited by the fireplace, no mantle stockings or Yule log, just a bottle of Veuve and 2 flutes, bubbles rising like unspoken sins. To closure, he toasted, clinking glasses. The fizz tickled my nose, but I sipped slow, recorder whirring silent in my pocket. We talked halting at first, small talk about the Falcons' playoff choke, Aunt Rita's diabetes scare, then peeled back layers like onions in a gumbo pot. I was drowning, he admitted, swirling his champagne. The divorce, the firm pressuring quotas.
That brooch was a lifeline. Stupid, yeah. But you?
Covering the car, the scripts, you enabled it, Laya. We fed each other's monsters. Enabled. The word landed like a slap, stinging because it stuck. I'd chosen silence every time, propping up his house of cards with my own deck. And the accusation? At the reading. I pressed, voice steady as a scalpel. He shrugged, eyes on the hearth. Panic. Saw the will, lost it. Thought if I flipped it on you, I'd look clean.
Clean.
As if any of us were. The conversation veered treacherous. Maria's call, the fund. His face crumpled. You did that?
Shit.
I figured it was some bleeding heart foundation. For a moment, vulnerability cracked his armor. The boy from the block peeking through. Then it's sealed. Look, I'll deed my residual claim, the cabin up in Blue Ridge, whatever's left after taxes. In exchange, you bury the hatchet. No sweets, no leaks. I pulled the brooch from my coat, holding it to the lamplight. It caught the glow, scattering prisms like lies in the dust motes.
Deal.
But one more thing, apologize. To her memory. To me. He hesitated, then bowed his head, words tumbling soft. I'm sorry, Grandma. Sorry, Laya, for dragging you through my hell. It hung there, fragile as frost on a windshield. I nodded, pocketing the signed quitclaim, and turned for the door. That's when the twist hit, like a sucker punch from the blind side. My phone buzzed in my hand. A text from Jamal. Abort. Saw his car, 2 guys inside. Rough types. Get out now. Heart slamming, I spun back. Marcus was on his feet, phone to ear, murmuring, Yeah, she's here. Grab it. The brooch? No, the USB. He'd played me. The view of a prop, the apology bait. From the shadows of the hallway, 2 goons emerged, his old crew from the realty flips, tatted and twitchy, one palming brass knuckles like a party favor. Hand it over, Nurse Ratchet. The bigger one growled, Atlanta drawl thick as gravy. Boss says you got evidence that's bad for business. Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes, mumbling. Had to, Laya. They're family too. Oh, M for the cover on the run. This evens the scales. Betrayal redux, sharper than the first cut. I backed toward the kitchen, mind racing. The knife block on the counter, Jamal's ETA 2 minutes out. You flip again? After everything? My voice broke, raw as exposed wire. He flinched. Survival, cuz.
You taught me that.
The scuffle erupted, me dodging a grab, snatching a paring knife not to stab but to slash the lamp cord, plunging the room into black. Chaos. Curses, furniture toppling like dominoes in a bad western. I bolted for the back door. Brooch clutched like a grenade pin, lungs burning as I hit the yard. Sirens wailed distant. Jamal, bless his trigger finger. The goons piled out after, but skedaddled at the cruiser lights, melting into the night like roaches at dawn. Marcus? He stayed inside, hands up when Jamal cuffed him, resisting minimal, eyes hollow as the parlor's echo. It wasn't supposed to go down like this, he muttered to me through the squad bars, face pressed to glass. I just wanted out.
Out.
From the lies, the hustle, the hollow core. As they hauled him away, the house loomed behind, windows dark as accusations. Court came swift, a whirlwind of pleas and deals. Marcus copped to the theft, the harassment. The hit-and-run reopened cold, Maria's family getting their day in the sun. My perjury? Kendra spun it as duress, a sister's coerced loyalty. Misdemeanor slap, probation, license intact. The will stood, the house mine, brooch back in its box like a dragon's hoard. Aunt Rita thawed over a tense Easter brunch, whispering, Forgive us our trespasses, her hand squeezing mine under the table. But victory? It tasted like ashes in sweet tea. Jamal, and I tried again, dinners at homegrown, walks along the beltline where the city pulsed forgiving underfoot. He proposed in June, ring simple as a smile, down on one knee by the graffiti mural at Krog Street Tunnel. I said yes, but the doubts lingered, whispers in the quiet. Was I the hero, or just the last domino standing? Marcus got 5 years, minimum security upstate, letters came sporadic, scrawled apologies that read like suicide notes. You won, Laya. But did it fix you? The twist that haunts? Grandma's final letter, Found tucked in the Hope chest post arrest. I wired the camera for truth, not triumph. Betrayal binds, but so does grace. Choose.
Grace.
I'd chosen the blade instead, and in the mirror now, 30, wedded, nursing shifts traded for clinic admin. The lines around my eyes ask if it was worth the scar. Readers, you tell me, was the revenge righteous or just revenge? In the American South, where magnolias bloom over mass graves, maybe there's no difference. Only the echo, fading slow into the humid dark.